thought this all the way through. Whites only community. Only white people are going to be allowed. Oh, probably shouldn't listen to that. So only white people are going to be allowed. What do you mean people aren't mad about that? Okay, but they're supposed to get really mad about it. Well, how about not just only whites, but no Jews either? We want whites only that are non-Jews. And we have the best attorney. Nobody's suing us over this? What do you mean nobody cares? Just laughing? No, Arkansas, the great state of northern Arkansas, who doesn't want to come to this community of ours? No one wants to come to Arkansas. The real estate agent told us everyone wanted that piece of property. Okay, well, so we'll just start in Arkansas, and then we're going to move to Missouri. Missouri's even prettier. Still nobody? How about I say it louder? Whites only community. We're going to broadcast it, let everyone know. Only whites, non-Jewish. How segregated can we get this? Still no. Okay, so we'll call this whole thing Return to the Land. Does that make people mad? It does. Because it's funny coming from white people returning to a land that was never theirs. Okay, so we'll call it Return to the Land. We'll start in Arkansas, expand to Missouri. What if we say we're going to go into all 50 states? Does that make people mad? They're still ignoring us. How is the top liked comment, no one gives a shit? Okay, well we need to set up some interviews. The second most liked comment is good riddance whiteys. Okay, now I'm offended. We need to get this on national news because we want people pissed off. Because that's the only way we can feel anything emotionally. Who's gonna build our homes? What about the Mexican restaurants? Who's gonna open and run those? I don't know if we thought this all the way through. Whites only community. Only white people are gonna be allowed. Oh, probably shouldn't.
This is Jonathan. Jonathan is a white supremacist, and recently he decided he was going to go out driving looking for someone to target, and he found a young man out jogging in the morning before he goes to work. And as he pulls his gun out of his passenger seat and shoots this young man, he does it and yells, "You better keep running, boy." And he did this admittedly because he wants to strike fear into victims through the race. Now, the only reason why you're not hearing about this like you did Ahmaud Arbery is because the young man that he shot survived. That's it. That is the only reason. They keep telling you white supremacy isn't real, all this stuff isn't happening, you're making it up in your mind, but we keep seeing it. It has a face. This is Jonathan.
Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give our praise and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Makakadas. I want to give double honor to the apostles and the others of the great millstone who rule well and teaching us his truth 100% securely. And I'd like to give a salutation to the Akim and Aqua while listening and studying to show ourselves approved. Alright, so this is just another quick lesson. Pretty much just continue warning, the sheep of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, man. And, to be circumspect out here. Alright, so, because Esau Edom is definitely laying the snares and he's laying the traps, okay? And he basically putting it in the minds of the people because we know that these devils, they own the media. All right, that's just put it. They own the media. They own any outlet that push out information. They own it. Okay, so they can and pretty much they can pretty much control the minds of the people, right? And so right here, as of late, you've been seeing a lot of racial tension is rising up. And a quick testimony, with all of these things going on, it's crystal clear that there's going to be, a race riot. And as the scripture said, the prophecies of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, it says that there, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Okay. And so, a quick testimony, I was just talking to a coworker of mine who was listening to false prophets, because you gotta I mean, you got to be completely blind, like for you to think that there's not going to be any race riot. Because, we was on a conversation about that sniper who basically said that bubble we get ready to pop. He was basically saying that it's long overdue. All right, there are going to be race riot. The sniper that was getting interviewed, I forget his name. I think they call him Sniper Nick or something like that. And he was getting interviewed, and he was saying that the American people are not going to be ready, but he was basically laying it out thick that it's gonna be race wars. It's gonna be out here. It's long overdue. Okay, I mean the writing is on the wall, man. You got the situation at Cincinnati Bar. Okay, that pretty much putting into the minds of the people is creating that division. Okay, even when you go into those videos, you watch a little small clip on YouTube. You look up the CNN videos, how they put 3 people in jail behind that Cincinnati brawl and all of that stuff like that. When you pay attention to the comment, most of the people in the comment section, the majority of them are Edomites. All right, they're so-called white men, right? And so that's something to think about, and that's ultimately what Esau Edom. That's what he wants, right? He laying the snares out, okay, and then you seen the first clip where they're making a all-white town. Now, if you know the history, right, just look up, there's a book by James W. Lowen called Sundown Town, and he actually goes into the history on how those towns became all white, okay? And ultimately, to summarize it, they ran out all colored people. They hung them, they lynched them, and they ran out the colored people. That's how they created all white town, okay? And so that's what, when Trump say make America great again, this is what he's talking about, okay? So they're laying out the snares in the trap, and it's obvious, right? And anybody that refuses to see that race wars is not coming, there's not going to be any civil war on America's soil, that person being blinded by the false prophet that the Lord warned you against, according to 1 John 4:1, Isaiah 8:20, okay? Because they're not speaking according to the scriptures. And the scriptures tell you that they're going to be nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, okay? But, yeah, man, that's pretty much the point right here. And ultimately, Esau Edom want to lay the snares and trap. He want to trap the Hebrew Israelites, the true biblical Hebrew Israelites. All right, this is what he's doing. He's laying the snares in the trap, okay? And you got a lot of people that's falling for it, okay? But let's just go ahead and get to the scriptures, man. I got a couple of quick precepts that I had lined up, which is Psalm 56. And really this whole chapter, right, this whole chapter you should read, and this is the spirit you should be in, okay? The point in being verse 6, but we'll start at verse 4, because it says, "And Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, I will praise his word, and Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, I will put my trust, and I will not fear what flesh can do unto me." Okay, and that's the whole point right here. This verse 4 is that we need to be praying to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua now more so than ever. Like, we need to be heavily praying that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua put us in the spirit like King David. Okay, how King David had this major trust in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. All right, because and even in verse 2. Well, let's start at verse 1, because it said, "Be merciful unto me, O power, for man will swallow me up. He fighting daily. He fighting daily oppresses me." Okay? And this is pretty much the snares and the trap that Esau Edom is trying to do to the biblical Hebrew Israelite, to the descendant, the true descendant, all right, of the Jews. All right, in verse 2, and he says, "My enemies would daily swallow me up, for they be many that fight against me, O thou most high." Right? And see, that's according to Psalms 83. And it says, "And Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, I will praise his word, and Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, I will put my trust, I will not fear what flesh can do unto me." Verse 5, and it said, "Every day they wrest my word all their thoughts are against me for evil. All right. So when you look at that video, the Cincinnati, you'll see how they're basically mocking, and if it was the other way around, they're gonna use the race card, and they saying you got some people in the comments saying that's not a brawl, that was attempted murder. That basically their thoughts is that this is what they want to see us, and they want to see us locked up in chains. Okay. And in verse 6, and he said, they gathered themselves together, they hide themselves, they mark my step when they wait for my soul. Okay? And he said that they mark my steps when they wait for my soul, meaning that they're laying the snare and the trap right now as we speak. Okay? Via to the media, to all of these videos that we're seeing, and it's going to rouse up Jake. Okay? So we go from there and let's get Psalm chapter 10. An appointment being verse 8, right? We start at verse 7. Psalm 10 and 7, it says, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Okay, this is, again, all right, this is the damn devil, okay, who control the media. Verse 8, he sitteth in lurking places of the village, in the secret places doeth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privately set against the poor. And who is the poor? It's none other than Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Matter of fact, before I even started doing this lesson, I was just in the process of watching Elder Malazakbar's lesson, going into how Esau, Edom is extracting melanie he's extracting melanie from the skin, okay? And the very first thing he said is that they use the skin to create shoes and so on and so forth. And then you fast forward to today, Elon Musk is setting up that AI supercomputer center in Memphis, Tennessee, which is majority of so-called, Negroes, Latinos, and Native American, majority of black and brown, all right? And so when he says his eyes is probably set against the poor, all right, because Memphis, Tennessee, economically is a poor city. This is what, biblically speaking, this is what it's talking about, modern day speaking. All right, in verse 9, he said, he lieth and waits secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doeth catch the poor when he draws him unto his net. In verse 10, he croucheth and humble himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. Okay, that's another snare, and it's another trap that the devil is setting up, man. Okay, Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 11. And this is pretty much their mindset, right? And ultimately, this is going into pretty much the Hebrew Proverbs 1 and 10 is pretty much telling how about you outside, telling us to walk away. Don't associate yourself with these people, right? Be not unequally yoked to non-believers. Because the point is in verse 11, but right here in verse 10 it says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say come with us, if they say come with us, let us lay wait for blood, let us lurk privately for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. And it says, we shall find all precious substance, we shall fill our house with spoil. And it says, casting thy lot among us, let us all have one purse. My son, walk not thou in the way with them, refrain thy foot from their path. For their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. And ultimately, that's pretty much the mindset of Esau, Edom, so-called white man. But this particular precept, it also goes into, the 2/3 of the nation of Israel, who pretty much have the same mindset of the very devil that we're speaking about. All right. And so that's just another precept going into that. And then let's get Jeremiah 11 and 19. All right. So this is just going to be a quick lesson. Just pretty much continue warning the sheep of Yahweh outside, and let you know, like they laying down a snare. All right, you need to be circumspect. Applying 1 Peter 5 and 8. Ephesians chapter 5 and 15, right? And Jeremiah 11 and 19, it says, but I was like a lamb or an ox that is brought to the slaughter, right? And you read in 2nd Esdras where it says, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. This is what it's talking about. Esau Edom is laying the snares, and he about to, come down having that great wrath, according to Revelation 12 and 12. All right, and it says, and I knew not that they had devices against me, saying, let us destroy the tree with the fruit thereof, and let us cut him off from the land of the living, that his name may be no more remembered. Okay, going back into Psalms 83, right? They want to cut off the children of Israel, and this is what these are the snares and the trap that they're using to do so. Okay. Let's get Luke chapter 20 and 20. And this is another example in the New Testament, all right? And it says, and they washed him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, all right? They going to come in speaking sweetly with their lip, all right, according to Psalm 55:21. Or Sirach, Ecclesiastica, aka Sirach chapter 12 and verse 16 through 17, somewhere around there. Okay. And they said I'm gonna read it again from the top. And they that watch him sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just man, that they might take hold of his word, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. Okay. And so these are another example of snares and trap that Esau Edom is setting up to deliver us up to be afflicted. Matter of fact, you read that in Matthew 24 and about the 9th verse, somewhere around there. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted for not my name's sake, for the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. All right. And last but not least, let's read Psalms 31 and 13. Okay. And so this is just another warning that we need to be more circumspect. We need to be praying to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua now more so than ever, man. All right. Psalm 31:13, it says, for I have heard the slander of many. All right. They control the media. So every time we look in the media, they got us in a bad light. Okay. Those are the slanders of many. For I have heard the slander of many. Fear was on every side while they took counsel together against me. They devised to take away my life. All right. And so, that's pretty much the point right there, man. They laying out the snares, and we need to be ready, man. Okay. And us to be being ready is ultimately we need to call on Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, okay, and ask him to deliver us. This is what we need to be praying. We need to pray for that strength. All right. Not only to pray to avoid it, but we also need to pray to be able to get through it. All right, go through the trials and tribulations. Because, after all, Sirach 2 and 5 says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable man in the furnace of adversity. So when we go through all of this, we need to call our Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and give praise to him that he'll give us the strength to be able to walk through that fiery furnace of adversity. Okay, so that was just a quick lesson. Lord willing, this was edifying. With that, and we give all praise and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem Kakadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and elders of the great millstone who were well and teaching us the truth 100% securely. Shalom, Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Shalom.